Hello everybody. Today we will be doing a tier list of the Terraria bosses. Now, before we get into the video, please subscribe as we are an up-and-coming channel, and if you would like to see this kind of content, make sure to leave a comment saying what you would like to see in the future. Now, let's get into the video. Enjoy!
Okay, so up first is Bestie. Bestie has some good drops. It's an event boss from the Old One's Army, the best tier. She has some good drops, and she's a pretty difficult boss fight. And
I think it's a cool idea to have the dragon, and posing some of the highest damage weapons is pretty solid for a boss.
yeah, except for one of them, but everything else is really good.
Yeah, A tier is solid.
It's definitely the rewards are definitely worth the fight.
Now for Cthulhu. I really enjoyed playing Brain of Cthulhu in my first ever playthrough. It really gave me a challenge, and I liked seeing how the different bosses really changed how you would progress. Brain of Cthulhu was definitely the most interesting one, requiring the tissue samples from creepers to progress, and that's why I'd actually give her S or A tier.
I'm giving A tier because technically you don't have to do the entire battle. You can just kill the creepers, and even if you die, you still get some tissue samples. So I'm gonna give it an A or B. Like I'm torn between A or B.
Just go A.
Okay, I'll go A. Then for the what is it called? The thing from the Old One's Army. The Dark Mage, the Dark Mage. So he's really easy and he doesn't drop anything except for a pet. So
I'm pretty hard to mount.
yeah, but that's hard. That's master mode only. So I'm going to put him in S. He's not that good. And
You mean in C?
I mean C, yeah.
Yeah, C is good. It's not that good of a boss.
I don't see who we're gonna put here because we're not really gonna use the F tier because.
No, there is definitely a boss that I'd really like to put in F tier.
We'll find out. Okay, next is Deerclops. Deerclops is a really cool fight, and he has some pretty good weapons.
I just hate how he isn't needed for the story progression, and that's why I'm gonna put him in B tier.
Yeah. The weapons aren't too good, but they're still really good, and the fight is really cool. So I agree with B tier. Now,
Okay.
next up is Eater of Worlds.
The counterpart to Brain of Cthulhu, and is honestly, in my opinion, pretty overwhelming. During the fight, when I was just playing through the game, I remember seeing the boss and thinking, wow, this is really cool, and then getting instantly wrecked. But, I mean, it's not that impressive compared to Brain of Cthulhu, which is why I want to give him a B tier.
I think that the Eater of Worlds is really easy because you can get the Vile Thorn and completely shred him, even if you're not playing Mage class. It's really, really easy. Or a sword with pretty good piercing, like or fast attack speed, like the Merzmera. Or
So,
but, let's go with the B because the actual drops are like Burn of Cthulhu, but a little worse.
alright, now Empress of Light, which I think should be our first S tier.
Yeah, Empress of Light is really cool, especially in the daytime. It gives a good challenge and a good weapon. The best summoner weapon there is, called the Terra Prisma. I'm definitely putting it in S tier.
Yes, Empress of Light is definitely one of my favorite bosses. I would say that she is definitely a worthy contender of S tier.
Next up is Everscream, part of the Frost Moon. The first boss to encounter in the Frost Moon.
And for the Frost Moon event, I actually liked it a lot, especially because of how it incorporated other bosses with it. And having just an army of bosses march toward me was really cool. And Everscream was somewhat menacing as a leader early on, which is why I want to give it A tier.
Yeah, A tier is pretty good, and it has a pretty good mage weapon as well. So I agree with it. And no, that's the morning one. Never mind. They don't have morning one on this tier list.
It's fine. He
Now
isn't really.
I have Cthulhu. For really, I would
The
rate
first.
it a B tier because
Mm,
it's pretty easy, and especially in expert mode, its a shield is really useful throughout the first 3 quarters of the game until you beat Plantera.
I would give it probably an A or B tier.
I'm going with A because if you're not playing expert or master, it's not it's not that good, but the Oranade drops can pretty be good, like if you make the Light Bane or Great Bircher, Blood Bircher. Now for the Ice Queen, the final boss of the Snow Queen event, of the Frost Moon event.
I really love Ice Cream, okay? Especially the pet that it drops, which is why I want to give it S tier, just because I love the pet so much.
But
But A
also,
tier is very settled.
I would put it in A tier because it's not even, it's an event boss, and you don't encounter it a lot. You encounter it a couple times in the event, and then you never really wants to play against it again. You never want to do the Frostmoon again after you do it once.
Fair point.
Now, King Slime,
F
I'll
tier. Garbage.
F. Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I have beef with King Slime. When I was doing my melee only playthrough, I got stuck on him for 5 bosses in a row, and he kept on spawning because the Slime Rain event was happening while I was just trying to get to different locations. And when I finally beat him, it was nice to finally conquer my nemesis, but it drops basically nothing good for me, in my opinion, which is why I'd say F tier.
yeah, the grappling hook can be okay, and the mount, but it's really easily outbeaten by the Queen Slime mount because it's the same thing, but it can fly. And it's pretty good wings. It's better than any wings you can get in in early hard mode.
Alright,
Next is Lunatic Cultist, the second to last boss that you'll fight before beating
this
Moon.
would be a bit. I don't know how the community feels about this, but in my opinion, I would rate it an S tier.
I mean, I don't really agree with that because he he's pretty easy if you know how to beat him. Because the only really hard part is if you accidentally kill a decoy, and other than that, it's pretty easy to dodge all his things. And you just
The
gotta
reason
wait.
why I love Lunatic Cultist is because, first of all, it fits in so well with linking it to the final boss, but also it can provide a challenge to people that have never played Terraria before or this is their first playthrough. And even on my second or third playthrough, it is still somewhat challenging to beat. And the whole dynamics of also the Phantasm Dragon as a pet too, which is in my opinion the best pet, is the reason why I rate it S tier. It's a very enjoyable boss.
I mean, would maybe we can put him in the middle of top of A tier, maybe?
Yeah.
I would say top of A tier.
Alright, let's
Martian
move
Saucer, part of the Martian invasion.
I
So,
remember grinding it. So it was the last sword I needed before my first Zenith, and it was annoying to beat.
so there are some really easy ways to beat him really easily,
Yeah,
and
you
for mage, it's really pretty good, decent drops. I beat the Moonlord with the Lunatic Cultist with his drops. Uh,
playing right after Moonlord is usually there's never really a point to going through the event until after you've beaten Moonlord, but then you have Meowmere and Star.
but
Wrath.
unless you're a mage, then it's totally worth it to do it.
I'd probably put it at B tier at best, but probably B or C.
I'm putting him at top of B.
Why are you
because
moving slime?
uh, oops, my bad. I'm putting him at top of B because he's only really good to fight before Moonlord if you're a mage, and it can be really annoying. Not just difficult, but just annoying.
Next up, I think we can do all the pillars. And also, why do they only have 3 pillars?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Okay, whatever. The only one that I see, I rate in general, all of them should be A tier because the drops are really nice, except the solar pillar, which I despise. And also, if you have Terrorblade, its drops are really not that good until you beat Moonlord, which is why I also the centipede thing that the solar flare that the solar pillar spawns is the most annoying thing I've ever seen, which is why I want to put only solar flare in F tier, but the rest of them in B tier.
They're technically not a boss though, so wait, wrong thing. We could make a separate thing for the pillars.
It's fine.
Okay, well, it's not that bad if you know how to beat it. Because over time, it becomes pretty easy to beat, so I'll put it in C.
My strategy is just to use Zenith and go in circles.
And then
But yeah.
yeah, and we'll pretend that it's Stardust Dragon, Stardust Pillars here, because I didn't add it. Ogre, another Old Man's Army boss. Now, he,
Alright. Okay.
I don't
I
really like him too much.
To me, it was just another boss.
Yeah, he's not that. I would also put him in S tier with Mage, Dark Mage.
You can put him in A tier.
No, I don't want to put him in A tier.
It's fine.
I'm just gonna put him in C because he only has
Whatever.
really one good drop, in my opinion. Well, he has other drops, but they're just not really worth it.
Okay,
The only
Plantera.
Plantera, she's
Okay, so here we are. Plantera, great boss, pretty fun design, cool concept. But searching for Plantera's bulb drives me insane.
yeah. There are some quality of life mods if you're playing modded that either spawn Plantera or locate the bulb.
So that's why I say, because without mods, which is how I prefer to play, just put it in F tier. But there are really good aspects, so I'd probably say a solid B tier.
Yeah, B. Well, I would put them in front of the pillars because the pillars aren't exactly bosses. Now
Alright.
the pumpkin. So the pumpkin is kind of like Snow Queen.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, the event bosses, I feel, are just kind of underwhelming.
yeah, this tier list that I chose is really bad. They don't have Morningwood or two of the. They don't have two of the mechanical bosses. We'll just put the other mechanical bosses with this because they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I don't really disagree with much on this tier list. But there is one point I'd like to make. So, looking at the list, you may see there aren't any mech bosses.
Except for the
And
mechanical eyes.
I know that they're a bit similar, which is why I say for example, the twins, we can just put them at the same rating as their pre-hard mode counterpart, like Eye of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I would put it here. Now we're gonna wait. We're gonna rank the destroyer and Skeletron Prime. I would put them around here because as
Yeah,
well, because they don't. They're if you think about it, over time, they're all going to be the same tier of difficulty, and none of them are really hard. So we can put them here in B tier as well. B tier is currently the longest. No, the robot Santa.
Well, it is honestly kind of mid. Just put C tier is where I'd place it, but you may have different opinions.
Nah, I agree with you. I don't like him too much.
Okay, this is just for Skeletron, not its mech counterpart, because I would put that in B tier. I think Skeletron should go in S, because it is just so iconic.
Yeah, we don't even have Moonlord in this one.
Oh yeah.
Moonlord I would put in A though. I would definitely put Moonlord in A.
But Skeletron is an easy S tier.
And Wall of Flesh, in my opinion, is 2. Because
Empress of Light is a bit is just not as known, but it is still very fun. By far the most challenging boss in the game, especially during daytime, as some methods have been patched out to do it. But the others are just too iconic. Well, that concludes our tier list. If you have different opinions, be sure to put them in the comments. And otherwise, we will see you in the next video. Goodbye!